What's up, everybody? This is Michael. Oh my goodness, in the very dead of night, in the wee hours, on the graveyard shift. And shout out to my peeps working third shift, man. That's what I'm talking about. Happy Thursday. Tomorrow's Veterans Day, folks. Take the time to honor a veteran. And as we move on through the week, we're watching Nicole come up the Florida coast, another one of our tropical storms. It's par for the course for this time of season. We'll probably just get rain, and we'll freak out like we always do. But anywho, I digress. The answer to the previous trivia question was, of course, a blackout. This was really a cool trivia question. The way that I phrased it and all the criteria that was involved could have really been anything. Could have been a hurricane. Could have been a snowstorm. Could have been a blackout, which it was. Nonetheless, this is the great blackout of November of 1965 in the Northeast. So on November 9th of 1965 at approximately 5:27 p.m., the worst time possible ever that something like this could happen, electricity went out all the way from Ontario to New York City and Buffalo to the eastern border of New Hampshire. This equated to over 30 million people and 80,000 square miles with no power whatsoever. Everything in the northeast section of the country came to a complete stop. The blackout lasted for 14 long hours. Trains carrying passengers were stuck in tunnels. People were stuck in elevators. Hotel lobbies filled up with stranded travelers and tourists. Thousands became stuck in subways underground. It was a chaotic nightmare, folks. Now remember, let's do a little history. This was the so-called Age of Prosperity, right? We have come out of World War II, well out of World War II. And at this point in the mid-60s, people had all kinds of new technology, right? This new technology was run by electricity. There were more mechanical appliances in homes, offices. This was the age of innovation of this sort, right? So by the 1960s, electricity had become affordable, and electrical consumption had doubled in households every decade after the war. All right, so we're using up a lot of electricity, basically, is my point. That's the takeaway from the whole thing. New and efficient ways of generating power became a necessary undertaking. This dramatic increase in consumption was coupled with the design of an elaborate grid system in the Northeast, interconnected by a complicated network of high voltage electric wires, right? So this is basically infrastructure coupled with increased consumption. That's a pretty good equation to sum things up, right? So on a particular cold November evening in November of 1965, power demands for heating, lighting, and cooking were pushing the entire electrical system in this region of the country to its near peak. We were pushing the envelope tonight, folks, right? Capacity was very high, right? One safety relay had been misprogrammed to this is how kind of it all played out. One safety relay had been misprogrammed to disconnect under the loads it perceived, right? That's how it was kind of phrased in my research. So as a result, at 5:16 p.m., right when everybody's heading home in New York City, right? Just imagine that. Or anywhere really in the country on any given time, a small variation of power originating from New York caused the relay to trip. So instantly the power that was flowing on the tripped line transferred and kind of broke off to other lines, causing them to become overloaded. In turn, the protective relays of these lines overloaded and tripped themselves. And basically the electricity had nowhere else to go. This excess power then flowed eastward, causing more overloading to occur as well, right? So the rest is blackout history, folks. Basically everything got tripped and shut down. The first relay tripped at 5:16, and by 5:27 you had a massive blackout. Just imagine how fast that flows, okay? And millions were stranded with no plan as to what to do. This was rush hour in the 1960s in New York City, folks. It was mass chaos, just complete darkness into the night for the next 14 hours long. So some of the articles that I found were quoted as saying everyone was, quote unquote, plunged into darkness without question. People had to be rescued from subways, underground, hundreds of thousands of people stuck underground trying to get home. So a couple of cool geek factoids about this massive blackout in November of 1965, in contrast to the wave of looting. I thought this was a pretty, there's cool things that come out of incidents like this. So in contrast to the wave of looting and other incidents that took place during a very similar blackout in 1977, almost 10, 11 years later, there were only 5 reports of looting made in New York City in the blackout of 1965. So it was said to be the lowest amount of crime on any given night in the city's history since records were first kept. That's a pretty cool statistic, folks. People were just focused on really helping each other and rescuing those that were stranded and getting people home. The Northeast Reliability Council and New York Power Pool, those two groups, organizations, whatever you want to call them, regulatory organizations basically are what those were that formed. Those emerged after the blackout to ensure quality equipment, standards for best possible operational guidelines in the industry. So those were two organizations that were put together to do some good to preventive measures, quite frankly. And another cool geek factoid is what I referenced and kind of tapped into earlier. People helped each other. That's what we do, right? We help each other in situations like that. That was the main focus. They assisted the fire department with rescue teams. They helped direct traffic. And they shared candles and flashlights with neighbors throughout the night and on subways and in stranded alleys and stranded hotel lobbies and so forth. People helped each other out and helped each other get home. There were reports of an alleged... I thought this was a really cool... This is a cool trivia question. Reports of an alleged baby boom that followed the blackout 9 months later are considered unsubstantiated. It wasn't. It may have been reliable data, right? But it wasn't necessarily valid. but you got to find something to do when the lights go out. So there you go. All right, folks. Let's keep on with the week. Let's get ready for Nicole coming up the coast with some heavy rains. And let's get through this Thursday, folks, for November 10th on this day. This is a cool trivia question. Listen very carefully. See if you can figure out who this is. On this day in 1940, at a time when communism was on the rise around the world, this famous film producer and entrepreneur began secretly serving as an FBI informant, tasked with reporting on the activities of Hollywood actors, writers, producers, and directors suspected of political subversion. This is a role he would serve in until his death in 1966. Can you guess who that was? Working for the FBI. Good luck, folks. You guys, look out for each other. Thanks for all the work you do. Peace out.